A breeder who knowingly breeds dogs with a severe heart condition who will die young simply because they make great looking puppies? Or how about a Doberman breeder who's breeding for a brand new color of Doberman that's never existed before, and they do this by mixed breeding with other breeds of dogs and then inbreeding repeatedly with that dog to lock in the color, and they do this enough times that eventually that dog passes a genetic test as a full-blooded Doberman? Or how about getting your puppy from a pet store, not reading the terms of the agreement on the way out the door, and later discovering you're being charged 95% interest on your dog, and your dog will cost you $9,000 by the time it's paid off? These are just some of the horror stories out there, guys, and trust me, it gets a lot worse than that. And today, we're airing out all of their dirty laundry, and you're gonna learn about all the mind-blowing things that some breeders do behind the scenes when all they care about is profits and not the breed. Today on Doberman Planet. So you've heard before how important it is to pick an ethical, quality breeder when you're looking for a Doberman puppy. But do you know why? It's because that a lot of really scary things can happen behind the scenes with your future family member without you even knowing it. Now, first off, some, but not all, of course, Doberman breeders who specialize in breeding for certain colors, or worse, rare Doberman colors, sometimes can engage in some pretty horrific breeding practices. And some will even go out of their way to hide it from you and from any potential genetic tests that you might do on your own dog down the road. Now, Doberman breeders who specialize in breeding certain rare colors of Doberman, by definition, have an extremely limited genetic pool to pick from. So, unfortunately, sometimes they just get what they can get, and this often leads to things like temperament, behavior, health, and the betterment of the breed being pushed to the side, and they're just looking for a dog that can produce the color of Doberman that they want. And worse than that, some of these breeders, unfortunately, even can engage in horrific levels of inbreeding simply to lock in a new color that they produce once a puppy comes out looking like the way they want them to. Also, guys, a lot goes on behind the scenes with some of these unethical breeders that you don't necessarily know about. For example, a few years ago, I was doing research for my website, dobermanplanet.com, and I got connected up with one of these breeders of rare colors of Doberman. And I was talking to her at length, and during the conversation, she mentioned that she was planning to produce a brand new color of Doberman that has never been created before. And she planned to make it a purebred Doberman. When I asked her a little bit more about it, what she described was crossbreeding her Dobermans with a completely different breed of dog in order to produce this, quote, rare color, or this new color, and then breeding that dog selectively over and over back with more Dobermans until that dog still had that new color, but could pass genetic tests as a purebred Doberman. Essentially, from a breeder like that, you're not getting a Doberman, you're getting a mixed breed dog who just happens to be able to trick some of the purebred Doberman tests out there. And at the same time, you're probably being told you have some ultra rare color of Doberman, and probably being charged more for it too. Other unethical breeders have other tactics as well. Some of them will have just crazy contract terms in the agreements that you sign with them. Make sure you read the agreements. Some of them will insist on putting the microchip in your dog in your breeder's name, so if the dog gets lost or goes to the vet, for example, and anyone scans it, it'll come back as the breeder's dog and not yours. If the dog gets lost, you may have to go negotiate and beg for your breeder to give your dog back. Also, some of the agreements will have open-ended pricing on there. It'll be a little line in there too that says that there could be some adjustments, and before you know it, you might start getting charged for things like an extra complication with the ear cropping or dew claw removal, or maybe some additional training they decided that the dog needed before going home with you, and you might end up paying a lot more for your puppy than you had agreed upon with that breeder. Now, there's a news station out in Orlando, Florida, who reported on one of these crazy contract terms that an owner found themselves entangled with. Basically, this owner went to a pet store and purchased a puppy for $4,500. While checking out, the salesman kind of turned the computer screen around quickly and said, basically, you don't have to read this now, you can read this contract later, but just so you know, your payments for your dog are going to be $189 a month. And he had her sign. Well, after going home, she read the contract, and it said that she was to be paying 95% interest on her dog, and by the time she was done, the dog was going to cost her around $9,000. The only other option was to return the dog that she's bonded with and she's loved so much back to the pet store, and still be charged about $2,000 in additional fees. Another common tactic of some of these really unethical breeders is they'll breed for looks and not the health or betterment of the breed. Now, unfortunately, this can affect not just backyard breeders, but also otherwise reputable show breeders as well, who are only looking for a good show dog. Essentially, they breed for looks alone, and a lot of times they breed very unhealthy dogs, and they either don't do health checking of the parents before selecting mating partners, or they do, but they just don't care about the results and kind of push them to the side. Many of these dogs have real serious health and temperament problems and can go on to live very short lives. Unethical breeders also seem to be most concerned with breeding for maximum profit alone. And this is scary because the dog's health, behavior, and genetics will definitely suffer as a result. It also tends to lead to kind of a progressive cutting of corners while they're breeding the dog as well, which can lead to some pretty horrible results. Now, one perfect example of how this can get out of control is one owner who had posted online a story about how they bought their beloved Doberman from a backyard breeder, and that breeder sold them a dog who had severe von Willebrand's disease, a blood clotting disorder. The dog also had just butchered ears from the ear cropping that wouldn't stand. There was partial dew claw removal done, and the dog's tail docking even had to be reperformed by the owner after they got the puppy because it was such a horrible job. Eventually, the breeder admitted to using super glue to closing the wounds on the docked tail after docking that tail. So it just really cascaded out of control, and it seems like this unethical breeder was just so concerned about cutting corners for profits, it led to some pretty horrific results. Another scary and really sad thing that unethical breeders do is keeping their puppies sequestered. And this also is something that happens behind closed doors without you even knowing it. Now, you typically buy a Doberman puppy at 8 weeks of age, right? So already about 4 weeks into their critical socialization window, which is a window of time that will affect their behavior for the rest of their lives. And do you know who or what your puppy was exposed to during those 4 weeks before they came into your care? Unfortunately, some of the bad breeders out there just won't expose them to much. They'll stay in the whelping box with mom, and they won't be exposed to new people or sights or sounds or other animals. And as said best by the American Veterinary Association, in general, animals reared in barren environments, both socially and physically, are unable to deal effectively with the environment and activities a normal companion animal will experience. And unfortunately, the really scary part about that is you won't know this necessarily for the first few months or even the first year of the dog's life until you start to see them get reactive and very fearful about the environment around them. So how do you know if you're dealing with one of these unethical breeders? Well, I've covered that topic on my channel quite a few times before, but here are some really cool red flags that you can keep an eye out for. The first one is lack of questioning by the breeder. A good breeder is going to care where their dogs are going to, and they're going to ask you a lot of questions about your experience with these dogs, about the environment they're going home to, and they're going to really try and get to know you. An unethical one is going to care about pushing their puppies fast. Another one is if they're quick to ship you the puppy. Unethical breeders love shipping puppies. Even scammers love shipping puppies. You know, those people who have no puppy to sell you because they want to be detached from the process, take your money, and say that they're going to ship you a dog. A good breeder might still ship a dog, but it's going to be one of their last resorts. They're going to want to see you interact with the dog in person. Also, watch for overbreeding of the females. Any more than 1 litter per year for a female Doberman, I'd definitely be suspicious of, and I'd also be suspicious if there's more than 2 litters per year by a single breeder in their home, because it's really hard to give these puppies the care and the attention they deserve when there's that much going on throughout the year. Also, breeding very young or very old Dobermans. If they're breeding, for example, female Dobermans younger than 2 years of age or over 6 years of age, I would certainly be cautious about working with that breeder as well. Another big red flag is lack of health testing results for the parents. An ethical breeder will have tested both the mom and the dad and should have those results to show you. If they don't, I would certainly be cautious. If you're looking at getting a Doberman puppy, or maybe you have gotten one and you just haven't health tested them yet, I really want to urge you to get your dog's DNA health tested. This is incredibly important, especially for us Doberman owners. We have a unique dog breed who has some unique health concerns, and a lot of these concerns can be locked up in their DNA. And to do this, I get the Embark DNA test kits. I really believe in them. They test for over 230 genetic health conditions, all the ones that us Doberman owners really care about. And it has some other cool features, like they can tell you how inbred your Doberman is or isn't, which is incredibly insightful into your dog's genetics. Also, they can reveal if your dog is a purebred back many generations, which is also very cool to know. And they can even connect you up with owners of relatives of your dogs. And you might find some brothers and sisters of your dog or some cousins of your dog on there and connect up with the owners, and it's actually kind of a cool thing. So I'll have a link down below where you can pick up one of these Embark DNA health test kits for yourself and get your dog tested. And I guess us Doberman owners are buying enough of these now that Embark actually has provided Doberman Planet with a big discount code. It's down in the description down below. It takes a huge chunk of the price of these things off. So definitely take advantage of that so you can get this a lot cheaper. And you know, it's really cool when you buy through the affiliate links like that from us, because it costs you nothing extra at all and it helps support this channel. We get a credit for sending you over there and it keeps this free content coming to you as well. And in this case, you get a coupon code that gets you a big chunk of the price off. It's actually less expensive. So definitely find a way to get your dog DNA health tested, whether it's through Embark or through some other means. Find a way to get them tested, because at least with the Dobermans, it's incredibly important for this breed specifically. Sources for a lot of the information I cited here today will of course be down in the description down below if you want to check those out. And before you take off, hit that subscribe button and that little bell icon next to it. Make sure all notifications are turned on, because we have some cool videos coming down the pipe. In fact, there's one of them that's going to be really weird and a little unique. Not something you'd expect on this channel. It's going to be actually really cool. So make sure that the bell icon is clicked so that all notifications are on. Otherwise, you're going to miss that one and you're not going to want to miss it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. Please keep being great Doberman breed ambassadors. And of course, I'll see you next time.